From the Premier Sports Campus at Lakewood Ranch, Florida, the 2023 USAFL National Championships continue here on Cooper's Field with Women's Division I Grand Final. It's the Golden Gate Iron Maidens and the Minnesota Freeze. The Maidens, 6 national championships in a row on the line. If they win, it's a record-setting 7th, the most by a Women's Division I team, and it would be the most by any team, men or women, in a row in USAFL Nationals history. For the Minnesota Freeze, this is their 2nd consecutive Grand Final. A victory would mean their first ever USAFL National Championship in Women's Division I. These two teams played yesterday. Minnesota ended Golden Gate's 25-game Nationals win streak. You know that they'll want to repeat the feat while the Iron Maidens will look to avenge it. My name is Brian Barish. Great to have your company. Joining me in the commentary position, the president of the Wasatch War Goals and a member of Team USA, Lizzie Sawyer. And Lizzie, the 2 best teams in the country, they were both undefeated when they came in this weekend, and they're going to do one more time to see who will be the Queens of the Oval in 2023.
Yes, thank you for having me, Brian. It's feeling a little bit like deja vu, but we will see how it plays out today.
It's like Yogi Berra. It's deja vu all over again. We're just hearing it. I feel the freeze in the atmosphere. Hashtag Burr. That's the Minnesota version of the haka, is what it sounds like.
A little intimidation factor.
A little bit of intimidation. We'll see what the Iron Maidens do in return. So here we go. The Minnesota Freeze. They lost to the Iron Maidens 40-7 a year ago in this match. And for the I was going to say the second time in 5 years, it's a set of repeats. The Freeze are in the blue jumpers with the white and silver icicles, heading from right to left. Liz Ed is in the ruck for them, and for the Golden Gate Iron Maidens, it's Panda Win. They're in the silver with the blue and the orange trim. The umpire is checking with the timers. He's ready to go, and so are we. He steps forward. He tosses the ball to the heavens, and the grand final for Women's Division I is alive. Saigula gets the first disposal, puts this one in the middle. Lindsay Eliason couldn't get to it. The ball pops up in the air. Over to get it now is Elise Leone. She dropped the footy, no call. Ed goes out. It goes off of, goes to McKenzie. McKenzie sends this one forward up into the forward line. Sending that one back is Olaf for Minnesota. Here is Katie Klatt. She'll be first to the footy. She taps it to her own advantage. Still can't pick it up, but keeps it in front of her. Out to the near side, but forgot about it. There was Connor Lewis. It goes out in front of Vicky Powell and in front of Lauren Shelton, and we'll have a boundary throw in right in front of Lizzie Sawyer and myself. Opening minute of scoreless football.
Brian, I'm looking at these jumpers, and they are so close in color. It's kind of hard to disseminate between the two.
That's going to be one of those. Well, welcome to the USAFL, but I think it's close enough. I mean, there's enough orange, you would think, on the Iron Maidens that there would be a difference, as Saigula was in there to extract the footy, but a little bit too late. So another ball up, wing position commentary side. Ball toss to the heavens. One out by Win, but not to advantage. But then it's picked up by Elise Leone, who dropped it. Powell in on Shelton from behind. Hoa is in there as well, and then cleared out by Maggione. One hops in, going to be picked off. Big tackle in there by Lily Hamilton, and falling on top of it, Blecker, and underneath her is Jessica Haas, and underneath her is the footy. We'll have a ball up.
Brian, Haas has had a couple of best on grounds this year, really improved as a player.
Really has, and she's impressed so far. Doherty's kick was smothered, picked up by Lily Hamilton, and that one is Doherty, and that one is sent free.
You've got to ask yourself, I wonder what the coach's speeches sounded like heading into this game, Brian. A lot of words of wisdom, I'm sure, but a lot of stay the same, stay consistent.
Katie Klatt, of course, the coach for the Golden Gate Iron Maidens. Mark Fisher, the head coach for the Minnesota Freeze. He's done a fantastic job in this club's resurgence. Free kick out to the near side, drops in front of Elise Leone. Shelton puts the pressure in. One hops in on Wynn, but she couldn't handle it cleanly. Haas was thrown after the footy. Paige Thel stood up by Hamilton, dropped the pill, no call. It just kind of squirted out, and a big tackle put in there. Georgiadis turned it over to Wynn, and Wynn's going to put that out on the full.
Brian, you were talking about Mark Fisher. He actually was awarded Best Women's Coach last year and did a little stint with Team USA this year.
Yeah, I think the way that he handles the players, the way that he approaches them, he gets really the most out of them. And you could see that a lot. He coached a combined side, Minnesota, Philadelphia, and it was a couple of other teams to the Eastern Division Championship as the ball goes out of bounds. That was at Eastern Regionals last year.
I had the pleasure of being coached by him this year when I played with Minnesota up in Canada, and he definitely has a unique style and one that's effective.
Yeah, he is one of the best. He is really one of the best coaches in the USA. And the ball goes out of bounds. The ball is a lot of the action happening right in front of us, Lizzie. I don't know that I need the binoculars just yet.
This wind has been affecting a lot of the games today, and it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in this grand final, Brian.
And Minnesota, unlike yesterday, they are kicking with the wind. They kicked against the wind in the first half and held Golden Gate to just 12 points in the first half and scrambled back to win. Here come the Freeze, and then going to pick that one up, and big tackle put on there. Rather, I was wrong. It is the Iron Maidens that are kicking, so it is just like yesterday. This is my 13th game this weekend.
Big tackle by Lauren Ewell really has set up the defense for a strong showing this year.
Here is Ewell out to the near side, and it will 1 and 2 hop over to the near side, and the ball goes out of bounds. Yeah, San Francisco scored just 12 points kicking to this side of the ground, but Minnesota really did a good job of hemming them in and taking advantage of the wind, kicking goals in quick succession. Ball gets punched out by Liz Ed once again, and again we'll have a boundary throw in.
Sometimes you talk about that defensive side having one or two weaker players that they might hide somewhere. This side, the Minnesota side, does not have one of those weaker players.
Neither team really does. Here is Lewis out the back. Pitchfork handball over the top looking for Georgiadis. Gaillard is in there to provide pressure. The ball is somewhere on this near side as taken down. I think that's going to be a call. And umpire Lori Roops awards a free kick to the Minnesota Freeze.
Here's where we get to see that Golden Gate defense side show up as well, Brian.
Pack forms, Eliason, 2 bites of the cherry. The ball goes out of bounds. It's a little different to see Lindsay Eliason with that tight ponytail. Usually it's a little bit more free-flowing.
Yes, she does tend to let the curls flow.
I have referred to her, and Peter Holden doesn't like when I do this, but I think she's like the Georgia Nanscorn of the USAFL, both in just looks and how she plays the game. As the ball goes under there, Saigula pounding away with Elise Leone, using her as a chaise lounge. No score, first half, Women's Division I Grand Final. Minnesota on the hunt for their first Grand Final. Golden Gate on the hunt for their 7th. Big tackle in there. And the umpire says, give it to me. We'll ball it up one more time. Again, it's Ed versus Wynn. Love this matchup. Wynn doing a fantastic job here in the ruck. Here is Cordoba, who sends this one forward, but a nice over-the-shoulder mark taken by Kojo.
Brian, we've seen a lot of the wind impact being that there are several ball ups, so those 2 rucks are going to be key players for this entire game.
Turned over, Grace Cooper, who kicked the game-winning goal yesterday, turned the ball over to Pan to win, but she's able to affect the ball up. It's Wynn versus Ed. Neither one gets it. Ed got the footy. Going forward there ever so slightly was, I believe, Lauren Burrows Chang was 28. And then here is Eliason, who runs the 50, sets sail against the wind. Daling is going to have to go back and get it. A good job. Oh, she did a great job of affecting the play and going to pick that one up, settling and kicking that one. The wind took it and blew it across the face. Powell able to get to it. Great pressure by Minnesota. And we'll have a ball up. My goodness, and this is a much different game than last year's Grand Final. Obviously, the weather is different, but Minnesota now on the front foot.
Yeah, Brian, it's going to be interesting to see if any changes are made from yesterday's play style to today.
Nice mark by Liz Ed coming across. Ed going back, looks for an option, goes in short, marked by Shelton. And the former USA national teamer in Lauren Shelton will go back.
One thing about Lauren Bryan is that she really has not lost her kick. She may have gained some kids, but she has not lost that kick.
She has gained kids and also gained that kick as the ball goes on the far side now. Kept in play. Catherine Mullen going after the footy, and the ball goes out of bounds in front of the sponsor shielding as the of course, Tasmanian and Coopers. We are forever grateful to them for their sponsorship and love and support. And also got to thank Kevin, and everybody else at Gridiron Productions for bringing you these pictures live around the world. Big tackle put in by Cooper, and the ball comes loose. And the umpire crosses his arms like the Monsignor, and we'll have a ball up. Still no score. Golden Gate, Minnesota, Division I Women's Grand Final.
Yeah, speaking of gridiron, Brian, we talked about this yesterday. Minnesota has a lot of gridiron players who have come out to play with them this year, and you're seeing that in their tackles. It's interesting to watch Golden Gate and how they are combating those tackles.
The ball is kicked away as as I saw Shelton being held off the footy by Leon, but they didn't, and the mark is taken by Kathy Oha. Hoa sends this one down. It drops in front, and Ed, as good contested mark against Wynn. Ball goes to ground. As it goes up, a scissor kick off the ground. Going over to get it and pick this one up. Just got her foot was Thill. Drops in front, bounces away. There is Saigula, who drops the footy, and it's picked up by Leo Gaillard. And here come the maidens. Gaillard sends this one down. Estrada Finley gets it on a hop, gets away from Paige Thill. Just got a weird kickoff, but then cleared back the other way by Sophie Pfluger. Pfluger couldn't get it about 15 meters, that was all. And the umpire gives it to me in front of a large and growing crowd in front of the Cooper's beer tent.
Brian, both teams are facing 2 days worth of fatigue, and it's going to be interesting to watch what practices they put into place to combat that fatigue.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you what, I mean, that is really the story of nationals. It's how you can go over 4 matches over 2 games essentially in 36 hours. The ball will come high up in the middle of the ground, up to the near side. Chasing after it is Hamilton. Sits up nicely for Connor Lewis. Lewis is spun around by Doherty, able to find Haas. This will bring some rain. 2-on-1 situation. 2 bites at the cherry. Spun around by Leon was Lewis. Here comes Eliason, bumped off the footy, but here is Connor Lewis who stays with the footy. Long handball looking for Shelton. Shelton looking for an option. Has one in Lewis. That was a 1-2-3. Shelton goes inside the 50-meter arc once again. Knocked down by Leon. Comes out to Gaillard. Eliason putting on the pressure. Now that comes out in the middle of the ground. We have a whistle and a free kick, and it looks like it's going the way of the Freeze.
Brian, one of the things that we have historically seen Golden Gate do really successfully is move in numbers with that ball and use the hand pass option. We're seeing Minnesota implement that a lot more this year, and you have to ask yourself if that's the difference for them.
And the ball is kicked right through the hands, staying with the footy. Going to pick it up is Eliason. Handball's into Pfluger, who was taken down. Or check that.
That's
that was
Kate
Mullen. Mullen's 10. I'm sorry, Mullen's 11, Pfluger's 10. As the ball now will be kicked in the play from the back line by Vicky Powell, and it's marked by Alva Doherty. She'll play that one off, and a good pressure, and she's gone. And there is Connor Lewis, who I think got an accidental knock to the back of the head for her troubles. I think Doherty, there was nothing in it. I think that was just Doherty trying to steady herself and accidentally caught Lewis in the back of the head, but I think she's okay.
Definitely something we see in footy. You know, no ill will to it. It's just an unfortunate side effect of sprinting.
And also the fact that body parts are literally flying everywhere. Daling stays with the footy in that front left pocket, the forward pocket, able to spin free. She gets it around, does Saigula, and the ball goes out of bounds for a boundary throw-in. Still no score in the game. Golden Gate nothing, Minnesota nothing. Women's Division I Grand Final, Brian Barish and Lizzie Sawyer.
Yeah, Brian, again, thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to call this game with you.
It's an honor to have you, and love all the work that you do, not only in the Salt Lake area, but also everywhere, but also the work you've done with the national team and really helping to grow the game of Aussie Rules football. You're a gem, and we're glad that you're a part of our family. The check's in the mail. Just kidding. The ball, as this one is put up across the face, Minnesota having trouble kicking straight in this win. Here is Eliason. Through or behind. Everybody got really excited, but it just went to the right of the stick. But that finally is the first score of the game, and the Minnesota Freeze lead in the Division I Grand Final 1-0.
You know, if you are that Minnesota coach right now, you're kind of kicking yourself a little bit. A minor score is still a score, but you really want to get it between the two uprights.
In this win, the goal is almost worth 2 as Pfluger tried to get the footy. They are on their back heels, are the Iron Maidens, up on the far side, and we'll have a boundary throw-in.
Brian, it's going to be interesting to see how the second half of this game differs from the first half. Will the wind die down? Will the teams adjust and play differently, or will they keep trying to put in their processes?
Cleared out by Leone. Ball goes high in the air, and it's punched away by Thel. Going after it is Saigola, coming out and kicking in danger. It'll be a free kick, as it wasn't Yule. I'm trying to see who that was, but any event, it may have been Haas, but it will be a free kick now up on the far side. Here come the Iron Maidens. Nice mark by Jess Estrada Finley. The Maidens need to string some of these together. They are losing time with the win. There's another mark, and that's exactly what they're doing. Nice mark by Lonnie Cordoba.
Brian, you know that Golden Gate is hoping for a couple over the head right here just to roll in easy if they can. But Minnesota's not going to make it that easy, are they?
No, they really aren't, and I think we'll see if it was out of bounds or if something was called. I think it in fact was a free kick as Sarah Maglione is walking back with the footy. And we're waiting to see what has happened here. In fact, actually, we do have a player down. Just trying to see who it is. It might be, I think it is Nicole McKenzie. And McKenzie will get the free kick. So she is at about a 60-degree angle, Nicole McKenzie.
Right, and as a coach, as a player coach especially, your heart's really pounding when you see one of your players, one of your key players go down like that.
But she's okay. And here is McKenzie. Sends us one with the wind. And it is dead center. Perfect goal to Nicole McKenzie, and the veteran who's won several of these championships puts her team in the lead. The first major score of the game on the Watch AFL scoreboard. Golden Gate 6, Minnesota 1.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but Nicole has actually won a couple of best on ground as well.
She absolutely has a couple of Ruse medals back home in the Bay Area. She was on The Price is Right once. Did you know that?
I did not.
She won, and it's somewhere on her Instagram, but she actually won when she was in college. It was I think one of Drew Carey's first episodes. She won the showcase on The Price is Right.
So she's a natural born winner.
Exactly. Well, it's 6-1 now, and perhaps are they ruining that opportunity? Minnesota, still plenty of time, though, as Wynn gets the ball down, but it's to Saigola, who sends this one forward. It drops in front, going after this one, and Eliason held off the football momentarily, no call. Daling comes in from behind, and it will be a high contact and a free kick. It will go the way of Lauren Dawes, I believe, or Mary Livesey. It was either 47 or 67. Out to the near side, picked up by Saigula, just got away. Over to Eliason, steps away from Katie Klatt. Good job of putting in the Shepherd. Hangs up in the air, one-on-one contest. Ball goes to ground, and it's going to be picked up. And Hoa, she was taken down. She is gone. Great tackle by Meglione.
Brian, as I'm looking at the roster for either side here, you know, usually you have a couple of players where maybe they're newer and they're not quite as polished yet, but both of these sides are just bringing all-stars to the table.
From top to bottom is going back to go forward is Olivia Keski, and Keski tries to get that ball forward up high, and it's marked by Eliason, who does so, past the late arriving Savannah Green, who in the 3 games I've called, has been largely quiet. But I know she's still there, and as she moves onto the far side, it's going to be played from behind. A little Punch and Judy handball, and here the other way, this is Mackenzie, who sends it with the wind. Crash Boom Opera going away from Jess Estrada Finley, and the ball goes out of bounds. Watch AFL scoreboard. Golden Gate 6, Minnesota 1, Women's Division I Grand Final.
You have to ask yourself, what has changed from yesterday today in the mentality and in the approach from Golden Gate? Because they do look like they're in a little bit more control at this point than they were yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is that they've scored 6 less points than they have in the first half last game, so we'll have to see what happens. But Minnesota really has them all pinned on their back and for most of this half. And you hear the Let's Go Maidens chant from the sideline out to the near side. It's going to be picked up by Jess Blecker, who's been largely quiet this game. Got the ball off before getting tackled by Haas. Sends this one down the corridor, out of the reach of Estrada Finley. Sent back by Ewell out to the near side. Going after it is Hamilton and Blecker. Blecker's going to throw in a bump. Hamilton just got away to Blecker. Blecker runs the 55 meters out, puts again a well-weighted kick, and that one is going to roll. It's going to roll. Ewell is back, and she will concede the behind. And so they'll be okay with that. And now one straight kick separates the teams. It's Golden Gate 7, Minnesota 1.
Key defensive strategy. If you've never been a defensive player, maybe this is news to you. However, every defender out there this weekend is taking a sigh of relief as they watch Lauren kick that through.
As speaking as a fullback herself in Lizzie Sawyer, sorry.
That's okay.
we always slip back a couple of years as this one comes out to the near side. Nice mark by Lauren Shelton, off to the races she goes. That kick was affected by. It's out of bounds on the full. That was very close to hitting the line. A great job of affecting the play by Meg Leone on the near side.
Honestly, Brian, movement on the field is movement no matter where it's at or no matter how far you get that kick on the full. You're still wanting to inch by inch it down the field, and that's exactly what Minnesota did there.
Vicky Powell sends this one forward for Golden Gate. There is Lewis dancing and romancing by. Big tackle put in. It comes to Saigola. Ball goes up high. Eliason tracking back. Marked by Katie Klatt.
Big mark for Katie. Big
mark by a big-time player out to the near side. Finds Maggie but bounces off of her knee. And, whoa, that's a good job. A good job by Saigola, who I think recognized that she was going to go flying. And here comes Thel sends this one down the line, going to put in a Shepherd, a great Shepherd put in, as that is Dawes, who is pushing and shoving out to the near side. One bounce in the field, a play and out, and it's a boundary throw-in.
Brian, it's going to be interesting as we get later into this half. We've got to be getting close there on this half, honestly, but it's going to be interesting as we get further into this half to watch what strategies take place and how Golden Gate is going to take advantage of these big gusts of wind going their way.
Yeah, they are really. I think this is the gustiest it's been all weekend, and it really has been affecting play. Golden Gate, and there is the half. And there it is. So the wind has affected a lot of things. And at the end of the first 20 minutes of the Women's Division I Grand Final, it's a very familiar situation. The Golden Gate Iron Maidens in the lead. The Maidens 1-1-7. The Freeze one behind. Halftime thoughts from Lizzie Sawyer.
Yeah, Brian, I was saying earlier, but I'm going to mention this again. It's going to be interesting to see how the teams capitalize on the use of that wind. Minnesota going into the second half is going to have that wind to their advantage, and we've seen several teams come back from behind to win games when they've got that wind on their side.
Yeah, they really do, and that's the thing, is that you're essentially playing off it's almost like you're playing catch-up after the first one. It'll be interesting because we talk about a benchmark maybe. Again, the Iron Maidens scored 12 points in the first half yesterday in that game. They've only scored 7, and 20 minutes separates one of these two teams from the Women's Division I National Championship. Will the Iron Maidens win number 7, or will the Minnesota Freeze win there first? It's 7-1 Golden Gate as we begin the second half. Brian Barish and Lizzie Sawyer with you here on Cooper's Field. Our thanks to Coopers and Tasmanian for making this Nationals Championship go, our 25th in-person USAFL Nationals. And Lizzie, this is going to be a very interesting, there's a lot, as you mentioned, a lot of dynamics are going to go into this next 20 minutes. It's all about execution at this point.
Absolutely, Brian. No matter the outcome, today is going to be history making for either of these two teams.
Groundbreakers, history makers were underway. Catherine Georgiadis has it. Here is Elise Leone, who sends us one forward, and it's marked by Connor Lewis. Lewis is going to run the ball forward. Lewis is going to pump this one inside 50, and it's going to carry. It's a one-on-one contest. Katie Klatt's going to go all the way back, and the ball goes out of bounds. I don't think it can be understated, though. We talk about the offensive possibilities. Katie Klatt might be one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best, and the Iron Maidens are going to need to rely on her a lot.
Absolutely, Brian. They're definitely going to be putting a bit of weight on Katie's shoulders here, and you said it earlier, she is a player coach, so they are looking to her for that leadership as well.
McKenzie somehow broke the tackle, or was it given? It was given as a tackle. McKenzie, her knee hit the ground, and so it'll be a free kick for Kaya Saigula. And Saigula telling the Golden Gate Roos to move the heck back.
Brian, this was Kaya's first year with the national program, and she really showed up for that red, white, and blue.
She really did. Saigula, centering ball. Who's there? Meg Leone is there to take the mark. So it'll be interesting to see how many players they have behind the ball, and if that works. They look to go out to the near side. Gaillard, good job by Shelton to spoil, and then running around, Dawes had the ball knocked, picked up through the wickets, though, of Saigula. Maguillon going after it. The ball goes free. There is Eliason, big tackle by Cooper in the back.
Again, I think it can't be stated enough that some of these gridiron players really have huge tackles that the Golden Gate are feeling.
Yeah, they really are, but they just got to be careful to keep them legal. This is Gaillard out to the near side, and there is Doherty. High on ball up over the top for Maguillon. This is how they have to move the footy. It's going to hang up in the air, but it's marked. And marked by Pfluger. Gets it on to Connor Lewis. Lewis puts that one on to the right. Who's in the forward line? Looking for Klatt. It's a 2-on-1 situation. Shelton has it bounce away. Jerry Johnson-Chambers is there, as is Dowling, as is Eliason. They push and shove at the footy. Picked up by the Maidens. And the ball up once again.
Brian, one of the things that the Maidens have historically always been successful with is linking those hand passes together. We're seeing a bit more kicking, which it's getting caught up in the air. I'm curious to see how they will shift that, if they will start to go back to those hand passes and linking them, or if they're going to keep throwing those kicks
Free
up.
kick for in the back, and this is Lindsay Eliason. And Eliason will have the wind, and she's going to need a better kick than she did on the other side of the field here. Here's Eliason, starts left. It's going to come right on the wind, and Klatt, all she can do is tap it through, but she'll be okay with that. But now it's one straight kick will give them the lead. Watch AFL scoreboard. Golden Gate 7, Minnesota 2.
Again, we talked about that defensive strategy and tapping the ball through. That's a huge win as a defender. You're not losing 1 point. You are saving yourself from 5 more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, at this point, they have a lot of room.
It looks like it was out on the full, Brian.
So so they're going to look for a centering ball. Daling is there. The ball sails across the face. Meg Leone with a huge mark.
Absolutely key mark there to keep the Freeze from scoring. We'll have to see how it transitions.
This is what champions are made of, is standing up. And this is, remember, on this ground to our right, actually, in the game that decided Division I in 2016, that first grand final. Remember, they had a 9-0 lead, and they defended it against the wind in the entire second half against the Denver Bulldogs. Klatt's able to get that one out to the near side, and it will bounce free, and the ball goes out of bounds.
You know, there's something to be said about that boundary. As a defender, you want to keep pushing the ball out to the boundary, and as a forward, you're wanting to transition it back in. The Frees are definitely looking to make that transition back toward the center so that they can put it into the hot spot and hopefully transition it over to a goal.
As Saigola had almost just got a snick on that one, and the ball goes out of bounds. Again, watch AFL scoreboard. Golden Gate 7, Minnesota 2. Brian Barish and Lizzie Sawyer, glad to have your company. We will see history one way or the other. You can hear the chants from the bench, "Let's go Maidens," as the ball will come spinning back into play. There's Shelton, who knocks it ball down, picked up and cleared out by Elise Leone. It'll drop in front. Hoa is able to keep that one free. Leone stays with the footy, and she has shown the side door out of bounds.
You know, Brian, I mentioned this yesterday when these two teams met up, but I'm going to mention it again. I started in 2010, and I can tell you right now that the quality of the D1 women play has increased exponentially.
Yep, absolutely. And, I mean, I've been around since 2007, and I know as well as a little bear hug being given by Jessica Haas to the other Jessica, Estrada Finley. Ball up in front of Lizzie and I. Here's Liz Ed against Wynn going after the footy. They are playing much better in the second half, the Iron Maidens, in the middle of the ground now. And a little handball on. A big tackle put in. Oh, but no prior opportunity. But a great job by, I believe that was
Kaya,
that was Saigola on McKenzie. Again, through the middle now as Ed stays with it. Good shovel pass looking for Hoa. Hoa, big tackle in on Gaillard. And the umpire crosses his arms, and again a ball up.
As the majority of the teams sitting over in the beer tent already know, it's a long weekend, and it is grueling and exhausting. It's interesting to watch how that just revs the engine for both of these teams, Brian.
This is it. This is the last bit of footy this season. Great job by Estrada Finley to get away from Thel, and now they are playing much better against the wind than they are yesterday as Blecker is going up against Ewell, picked up by Hamilton. Big tackle. Who lost the footy? No call. She lost the footy out to the near side, and here comes here's Thel. And dropped by Georgiadis. She gets it on the second bite of the cherry. Going after it again is, I couldn't see because there's a photographer standing in front of me, but that's okay. And out to the near side. That's okay. Still love you, mate. Out to the near side.
Brian, one of the biggest things we talked about yesterday that I think we can really see today is numbers to the ball from both sides, making a huge impact, especially with this wind.
Here is Lewis just batting the ball forward. Now she goes back and gets it, gets away from two defenders. Here again is Pfluger, who has the footy. Pfluger turns it over. Big drop the pill. Now going to pick that one up is Gaillard. Here is, again, that's Saigola. Saigola dropped the footy again. Georgiadis bowls over Cordoba, and the umpire crosses and says, give it to me once again. Lots of hard-hitting footy at 7-2. Once again, Golden Gate the lead.
Brian, I'm interested to see as we are watching the Iron Maidens try to protect and maintain. Will there be some sort of rally from the Frees, or will we stay at a stagnant place for the majority of this half?
Well, and that benefits the Iron Maidens, because if that's the case, and there's a free kick being given to McKenzie here, that would benefit the Maidens with the lead now. So here is Nicole McKenzie. What kind of options does she have? She plays it out to the far side, and a good option in Elise Leone. Leone looking to go down the middle of the ground and trying to pick that one up. Soccers that one across the floor, right to McKenzie, goes back to Leone. Leone bootlegs around, now puts the ball on the right foot, smothered by Hoa. It ricochets out. Ed is in there, or rather Eliason is there and earns a free kick.
Brian, some of these athletes, you can't help but be impressed. Lindsay herself, she used to be a collegiate rower. You can see that full body strength. They tried to take her down, and she was able to keep her feet there.
In the Rosemary Quokka line of rowers, Aussie Rules Football, boom crash opera once again, as looks like McKenzie collided with Klatt and ended up second best in that friendly fire. Out to the far side, going back to get it, looking for Klatt, and Klatt will run this one out to the near side. And going after it again. Here's Gaillard as the ball drops backwards. Minnesota trying to pounce on it, just forcing a errant handball. Big Shepard thrown in there. Big bump thrown in there by Jerry Johnson Chambers. And the ball goes out of bounds for a boundary throw in. Will we see another close game going all the way down to the wire in this one after we saw Sacramento just nip Seattle at the end?
Brian, we saw Jerry get up a little bit slow there. Jerry used to be a defensive player and has become one of the key forwards for the Freeze. Really big transition for her this year, and she's really come into her own there.
She really has, and that's one of the reasons why they're in the position that they are, especially because it gives them that extra option up in the forward line. So it'll be a free kick after it went out on the full. Chip kick looking for Leone. And that one's going out on the full. So trying to get perhaps a little too cute.
A testament to the wind and its intensity right now.
So let's see how this one goes. This one is a centering ball. Whose hands are up? Gets knocked down by Dawes. And there is Leone able to clear it out to the near side, and the ball bounces out of bounds in front of Blecker. The one thing I've noticed that they have done here is they've basically put a lot of their talls. They've put Dawes back there. They've put Leone back there, Meg Leone back there. That's really going to be the key here, as this one is sent in once again as Wynn, and going down to get it as Saigola. She's trying to get up, and we'll have a ball up once again.
Brian, I said this earlier, but it's worth mentioning again. When the wind is this intense, you see so many more ball ups happening. You have to ask yourself how that's going to impact the game in totality.
And yeah, it really is. And really, it might be more difficult. It might be more of a hazard than a help. And we mentioned how well Minnesota did with the win yesterday, but that really hasn't reflected. They've only had one scoring chance. And again, you hear the bench. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that both teams have prepped for this all season long, but there's something to be said about the fatigue as it sets in, as it kicks in. You have to ask yourself, does that change the way that you play?
Yeah, that's the question. And yeah, I mean that's the thing, is that but who can make the adjustments better? And the Iron Maidens are generally pretty good at that. This is Wynn up against against Shelton in the ruck this time. And the umpire, Lori Roop, says, give that to me, and we'll ball it up once again. Watch AFL scoreboard hasn't changed in a while. It's still 7-2.
You know, Lori is actually a Minnesota native as well and started as a Freeze player.
I was trying not to mention that. Not that it matters, because she's one of the best players of all time, but still best umpires that we've had here, and she does such good work. And she's going to win yet another Hayden Kennedy medal for grand final umpiring. And that one, well, Sarah might want to alert the Sarasota Zoo, because there's a shankopotamus on the loose.
You know, Brian, Lori has spent more time umpiring than she ever did as a player, less than a season as a player. And she is definitely an asset to the league. We're lucky that she chose to go that route after being injured.
And the women's game as well, because she's very good educating the players and how to play and what to look for. They are able to steer this one through. As it comes out, it comes to Eliason at the mark. And here's Lindsay Eliason for the third time in this match with a chance to kick a goal. She needs to take her time. The wind, don't worry about the wind here. Or, I mean, worry about it, but don't let
Quick adjustments.
Oh, that's a really good kick. And there it is. And the Minnesota Freeze are in front in the women's grand final. Lindsay Eliason, third time's the charm. And on the Watch AFL scoreboard, it's the Minnesota Freeze. Pinch yourself. 1 goal, 2 behinds, 8 points. And the Golden Gate Iron Maidens 1-1-7. What's happening?
Brian, do you hear the sidelines? It's electric.
It boogie, woogie, woogie. This is almost Seattle and Denver in the Division I men's, when the Grizzlies came so close to knocking off the perennial champions in Denver. Will we see a new champion crowned? Plenty of time to go. 1 point the difference. And here they come the other way. It is dropped there, and picking that one up is Blecker. They've got a lot of champions on this team. You know they're not going to let up, and there's a nice mark taken.
Big grab for Olaf, Brian.
By Olaf, yep. one of two Icelandic players, and also a gridiron player, sending this one down. And it's marked by Lindsay Eliasson, who right now is the hero. She
Great
has
mark.
all 8 points right now. She looks around. Lindsay Eliasson sends this one high in the air. The pack is forming off the hand of Katie Klatt, but here comes Mackenzie out to the near side. One-on-one contest. That was Mullen going after it. I don't know why I keep mixing them up, but the ball goes out of bounds. Minnesota 8, Golden Gate 7, Women's Division I Grand Final.
Brian, I think we talked about this yesterday, but one of the biggest transfers from years past to this year for the Minnesota Freeze has really been the pack mentality, which we know Golden Gate has always been successful at and has led to a lot of their victories in the past.
Call in the back, absolutely the right call, and Olaf gives it away. Here is Jess Estrada Finley, who goes forward. She's going to be told to play on soon. Goes in, and the mark is taken by Elise Leone. These are women with multiple championships, and they know what to do in this situation. It's not one they've been in very often. Behind in the second half, going to drop the footy. Here comes Jess Estrada Finley, bats the ball to the near side, and Minnesota's okay with that because Preston seconds ebb away.
A lot of blue in that pack as that ball came in, Brian. You saw a lot of Freeze players come to that pack and contest that mark.
Umpire Vicky Schoenagel puts the ball back in the play on the near side. There's a handball back. Leone sends this one forward, and it is dropped out to the near side here, and going to pick that one up is Doherty. She goes back to go forward. Getting it was Mackenzie, and the ball is in there, and it is more locked away tighter than the 11 secret herbs and spices, and we'll have a ball up.
Brian, I don't think anybody understood what that meant.
KFC,
Oh.
who are not a sponsor, but that's okay. As the ball, but Tasmania is a sponsor, and so is Cooper's Beer, and they're bringing us these pictures, as is Gridiron Productions. There is Katie Klatt playing playing up front. You know that's how desperate they are. Here comes Blecker and sliding in, and there is Cordoba, and Cordoba gets a free kick.
I think that one was called kicking in danger, yeah?
Yeah, that was pretty close, but here's a long kick and bounces off the chest. It ping-pongs around. Picking that one up is Blecker. Kicks that one high into the wind and goes into the pocket and stays in play. It's going to get cleaned up by the Freeze, but it was kicked into her own player, I think, in Olaf, as the ball goes onto the far side. This one will come up, doubled and caught by Sarah Maggione. Probably 2 kicks for goal, though.
There's something to be said about the fact that Sarah has spent the majority of the last couple of years during practices with the Birmingham men.
Yep, and here's a kick, and there it is, and it is marked! Nicole McKenzie threw her life on the line for that mark.
We talk a lot in footy about putting your body on the line for your team, and that is exactly what Nicole McKenzie just did, Brian.
She's lucky. She was almost eating fried chicken with Mama, Daddy, and Baby Jesus. What a mark that was, and she can put her team in the lead. Nicole McKenzie, this is for the lead, and it's gone behind the stick. Scores are level.
I don't remember, and maybe you do, because you tend to be a bit of an encyclopedia, but I can't remember the last time we were this far into a women's grand final for D1 at a tied score.
I don't know that there has been a drawn game in women's, and I think you have to go all the way back to like the 1999 or 2000 men's Division I grand final for the last time we had a tie game. And we might have to double check the extra time rules, but unless we get a score at some point. Here comes the Iron Maidens. They are finding something different deep. Here is Mackenzie sending that one deep, and it is pushing the back.
You know, Brian, there's no question that both of these teams deserve to be here and have put into the work to get this far. You can see it on the scoreboard. You can see it in their play. They are two very equally matched teams.
Jess Estrada Finley, who helped found the Golden Gate Iron Maidens, and who has been through everything with this club, stands 25 meters out. Any score will put them in the lead. The kick is on the way. It is dead center, perfect, and the Maidens are in front. The Golden Gate Iron Maidens 14, Minnesota 8. Just minutes to go now.
If you are a Minnesota player right now, you're asking yourself, how can we transition it quickly from the midfield into the forward 50? You don't want to have to transition it from that back 50 again. You're wanting that advantage quickly, Brian.
What a game this has turned out to be, especially after yesterday. We knew it was going to be somebody's going to get called for 5 in the square. It is 14-8 is the what I say? 14-8 is the score. And that is it. Groundbreakers, history makers, the winningest team of all time. The Golden Gate Iron Maidens have come from behind in the toughest grand final of the 7 that they have won. The Maidens stand alone at the top of the heap, their 7th consecutive Women's D1 USAFL National Championship. But boy, they had a fight on their hands all the way from a very determined and a very talented Minnesota Freeze team. The final score, the Golden Gate Iron Maidens 2-2-14, the Minnesota Freeze 1-2-8. Jess Estrada Finley, the original Iron Maiden, is the hero. What a game.
Absolutely, Brian. You know, a nail biter all the way through. And I think before we move any further in this conversation, it is worth mentioning there is a set of best friends who are split between this team. You got Jess Blecker on one side and Paige Thel. They just had a beautiful moment on the field immediately after the siren, before going to either of their teams, where they held one another. That is mateship.
Really?
That is footy at the heart of the game, Brian.
And I know I'm getting a little moved by that. This isn't a put on. I know the two of them. I know how much that friendship means. What an absolutely beautiful this game. I mean, listen, you play all season for what those women are celebrating right there, but this friendships, that's what it's all about. The community and the camaraderie. Take your hat off to both teams.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That is better than the 2016 grand final, the 2016 decider. That might be the best women's game we've ever seen. What a job by the Iron Maidens. Our hats off to the Minnesota Freeze, who come up short one more time, but they held their heads up high. They will be back next year if everybody stays healthy. They will be back, and they will challenge for things in 2024. But it's all about the Iron Maidens, the most women's national championship and the most consecutive championships, men or women. The Austin Crows, the Denver Bulldogs, 4 in a row, nowhere near the Golden Gate Iron Maidens.
You know, and a class act at that, Brian. You look at the fact that they are the most winning team in the league, and they're humble about it.
Yeah, they really are.
They may mention it, but they are humble about it, Brian, they earn it.
I think, and this is speculation, but think about how hard they had to get above the Denver Bulldogs women, who had won 6 in a row, and they were on the losing side of 2 of those, and 3 if you count the round robin. They know what it's like to be on the other side. They know the amount of work they've had to do, and you're right, absolutely humble. They will enjoy this. They will celebrate, but they will do so in a very sportsmanlike fashion, and you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, Brian, and there's a big testament to their team and their mentality that they came back from yesterday, having lost to the Minnesota Freeze yesterday, and then were able to rally and change and shift as a chameleon, meeting the needs of this very moment in order to win number 7.
So here's an interesting stat. The Minnesota Freeze are the only team to end 2 20-game win streaks at the USAFL Nationals. And in both cases, the team that they beat went on to win the championship.
Yes, absolutely. We talked about this yesterday. I was there in 2015
You were.
playing for the Freeze, and it was a beautiful moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not because we wanted to take somebody down, but because we wanted to be a part of history.
And not only that, but that Freeze team, I think, had come a long way to that point in its own right, just as this team has. Lizzie
Absolutely.
Sawyer, thank you so much. Great job on the call today. Your insight is fantastic. You're a Minnesota girl at heart. I know there's a little bit of you that wanted to see the result go different, but let me tell you, they have nothing to be ashamed of. Absolutely. Brilliant job on the comms. We have one more grand final. Listen, I barely have voice. We're going to try and get through this one last game, and that one's going to be a doozy, too. It's the Austin Crows and the Denver Bulldogs men's Division I grand final. Don't go anywhere. That one's going to be just as good. You're watching the 2023 USAFL National Championships here on USAFL.com.